Uncover the heartbreaking stories behind the cast of BJ and the Bear, where real-life tragedies overshadow even the most dramatic on-screen moments. Beyond the glitz and glamour, fate dealt cruel hands to these talented actors, ranging from devastating health struggles to sudden, unexplained deaths that remain shrouded in mystery. Join us as we delve into the untold hardships they endured, honoring their invaluable contributions to this iconic series while reflecting on the pain and unfulfilled dreams that marked their lives. This is more than just a tale of loss. It's an emotional journey that highlights the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of relentless misfortune. Don't miss this deeply moving tribute, a poignant reminder that behind the curtain of fame often lies a world of loneliness, suffering, and unanswered questions. Murray Hamilton, born on March 24, 1923, in Washington, North Carolina, was an American actor renowned for his extensive work in film, television, and theater. In the television series BJ and the Bear, he portrayed Captain Rutherford T. Grant in 15 episodes during 1981. Hamilton's career spanned over 4 decades, with notable film roles including Alphonse Paquette in Anatomy of a Murder, 1959, Finley in The Hustler, 1961, Mr. Robinson in The Graduate, 1967, and Mayor Larry Vaughn in Jaws, 1975, and its sequel Jaws 2, 1978. On television, he appeared in series such as The Twilight Zone, Perry Mason, and The Golden Girls, where he played Curtis "Big Daddy" Hollingsworth. Hamilton was married to Terry DeMarco, a member of the DeMarco Sisters singing group, from June 10, 1953, until his death. The couple had one son, David Honeycutt Hamilton. Despite his professional success, Hamilton faced personal challenges, including frustrations with being typecast and health issues later in life. He passed away from respiratory arrest due to lung cancer on September 1, 1986, in his hometown of Washington, North Carolina, at the age of 63. Julie Gregg, born in 1937, had a voice that could stop hearts and a presence that hinted at stardom she never quite attained. As Sally in BJ and the Bear, she appeared briefly, much like in the rest of her career, always near the spotlight but never fully in it. She is perhaps best remembered for playing Sonny Corleone's wife in The Godfather, 1972, a role that should have opened doors but instead became her defining moment. Her career, like so many, was a series of almosts. Appearances in Batman, 1966, and Mission: Impossible, 1969, showed her range, yet true fame remained elusive. Her love life was equally unfulfilling. Relationships started with passion but ended in disappointment, leaving her yearning for something she never found. She spent her later years in quiet anonymity, far from the glamour she once chased. In 2016, cancer claimed her, taking with it the dreams she had once carried so brightly. John Joseph Dooligan III, born on November 27, 1930, in Brooklyn, New York, was an American actor with a career spanning film, stage, and television. In BJ and the Bear, he played the character Nick across 9 episodes in 1981. Dooligan's film appearances include roles in California, 1993, and Apollo 13, 1995. On television, he was known for his portrayal of Dr. Wilker in the science fiction series Battlestar Galactica, 1978, and had guest roles in shows like Gunsmoke, The Rockford Files, Barnaby Jones, Night Court, and The King of Queens. He also had a recurring role as Ray Brewer in the sitcom Barney Miller. Dooligan was married twice, first to Ann Bright Peters on November 18, 1955, and later to Michelle Bordier in 1986, with whom he had one child before their divorce in January 1999. He performed in over 60 stage productions, notably in plays such as Major Barbara at the Mark Taper Forum in New York, Blood Knot, and Little Sheba. Dooligan's life came to a close on January 18, 2009, when he succumbed to lung cancer in Calabasas, Los Angeles, California, at the age of 78. Robert J. Wilkie, born in 1914, was the face of the classic Hollywood villain. His piercing eyes and rugged features made him a staple in westerns, forever playing the man you love to hate. As Mr. Stevens in BJ and the Bear, he brought the same quiet menace he had perfected over decades in films like High Noon, 1952, and The Magnificent Seven, 1960. But despite his on-screen dominance, off-screen life was less grand. Hollywood never truly embraced character actors, and Wilkie, despite his immense talent, found himself forgotten as the industry moved on. His long career ended in the kind of obscurity he had always feared. In 1989, he suffered a heart attack, and the final chapter of his life closed with barely a whisper. The man who once stood toe-to-toe with legends faded away, his legacy left to the memories of old Western fans and late-night reruns. Susan Woolen, born on June 7, 1947, was a multifaceted talent in the entertainment industry, known for her roles as an actress, writer, and producer. She graced the television series BJ and the Bear from 1979 to 1981, portraying characters such as Stacy, Sherry, and Rita across 7 episodes. Her acting repertoire extended to notable appearances in television movies like The Return of the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, 1987, where she played Tricia Sullivan, and The Return of the Man from UNCLA, The 15 Years Later Affair, 1983, taking on the role of Janice Friday. Beyond acting, Woolen showcased her writing prowess in several acclaimed television series. She contributed to Remington Steele, 1982, The Equalizer, 1985, and The Master, 1984, where she not only wrote but also played the character Kim Anderson in one episode. Her storytelling skills further enriched episodes of Matlock, 1990, and Alfred Hitchcock Presents, 1988 to 1989, highlighting her versatility and depth in the industry. Despite her professional achievements, Susan Woolen's personal life remains largely private, with limited public information regarding her family relationships, including details about her parents, spouses, or children. This discretion extended to her romantic relationships, as there is no public record of tumultuous or unhappy romantic involvements. Tragically, Susan Woolen passed away on August 19, 2023, leaving behind a legacy of diverse contributions to television both in front of and behind the camera. Joyce Gilson, born in 1945, was a woman who transformed herself as often as Hollywood required, but the industry never quite knew what to do with her. Appearing as the first reporter in BJ and the Bear, she was one of countless hopefuls trying to carve out a place in an unforgiving business. She found more fame in a different realm, astrology, reinventing herself as a celebrity psychic who claimed to have advised presidents and tycoons. Though she projected confidence, those close to her knew she carried the wounds of rejection, the pain of never being fully embraced by the entertainment world she had once dreamed of conquering. Love, too, remained elusive, relationships came and went, never quite filling the void. In 2004, kidney failure claimed her, an ending as quiet as the industry's dismissal of her acting career. She had spent her life reading the stars for others, but Hollywood had long ago stopped looking at hers. Charles Napier, born in 1936, was a man whose face was more famous than his name. His square jaw and steely glare made him Hollywood's go-to tough guy, playing hard-edged military men, cops, and villains throughout his career. In BJ and the Bear, he portrayed the brutish Hammer, a role that fit his rugged persona. He also left his mark in Rambo, First Blood Part 2, 1985, and as the menacing Lieutenant Bill Boyle in Silence of the Lambs, 1991. But behind the tough exterior was a man who felt constantly overlooked, typecast as a thug when he longed for deeper roles. His personal life was equally frustrating, his marriages were strained, and love always seemed to slip through his fingers. As he aged, health problems mounted, and in 2011, his heart finally gave out, a cruel metaphor for the man who had spent his life giving so much of it away to an industry that never truly repaid him. Luke Askew, born in 1932, was a man whose presence on screen carried a quiet, dangerous intensity. As Blackwell in BJ and the Bear, he brought the same brooding energy that had made him a cult favorite in films like Easy Rider, 1969, and The Green Berets, 1968. He never fit the Hollywood mold, his rough-hewn features and deep, gravelly voice keeping him forever on the fringes, too striking to ignore, yet never quite a star. Off-screen, his life was marked by an equal sense of displacement. Relationships came and went, none lasting long enough to provide real stability. He lived much of his later years in quiet solitude, fading into obscurity as Hollywood forgot the actors who had given it its grit. In 2012, a long illness took him, and the world barely noticed. His death, like much of his career, was a passing shadow, another great character actor swallowed by time. Claude Akins, born in 1926, was the kind of actor whose presence dominated any scene, yet he never quite became a household name. In BJ and the Bear, he played Sheriff Elroy Keith Lobo, a role he carried into the spin-off The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo. His deep, commanding voice and burly frame made him a fixture in westerns, war films, and crime dramas, including Rio Bravo, 1959, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes, 1973. But for all his on-screen authority, his personal life was marked by restlessness. His marriages endured only through sheer force of will, and though he had children, his workaholic tendencies often left them feeling more like spectators than participants in his life. The roles became fewer as the years went on, and though he kept working, the industry's shifting landscape left him in the dust. In 1994, cancer claimed him, a slow and relentless decline that silenced one of television's great character actors. Jack Jing, born in 1931, had the kind of all-American look that should have made him a household name, but fate had other plans. As an inspector in BJ and the Bear, he played yet another one of the no-nonsense authority figures that defined much of his career. From the A-Team to Where the Red Fern Grows, 1974, he carved out a steady stream of work, though superstardom remained just out of reach. His personal life was filled with the turbulence of a man caught between ambition and reality, marriages that crumbled, love that never seemed to last, and a career that felt like a constant fight to stay relevant. He spent his later years far from the limelight, his name slowly fading from public memory. When he passed away in 2022, it was quiet, with little fanfare, as if the world had already moved on. His was the story of so many Hollywood actors, talented, dedicated, but ultimately left behind. Ed Lauter, born in 1938, carried a face etched with the kind of weariness that made him perfect for hard-nosed authority figures. In BJ and the Bear, he embodied Captain John Sebastian Kane, a role that fit his long career of playing stern, intimidating men. He was a constant presence in Hollywood, appearing in films like Death Wish 3, 1985, and The Longest Yard, 1974, always the guy who stood just outside the spotlight. But his career never quite soared, he was always that guy, never the star. Off-screen, his personal life mirrored the grit of his roles. His relationships were rocky, full of passionate beginnings that burned out just as quickly. He married multiple times, but happiness was always just out of reach. Then, in 2013, a cruel twist of fate struck. He was diagnosed with mesothelioma, a cancer linked to asbestos exposure. The disease took him fast, leaving behind a career of nearly 200 roles but never quite the recognition he had spent his life chasing. Dennis Fimple, born in 1940, was the kind of actor who made an impression no matter how small the role. As Otis Schaefer in BJ and the Bear, he played a character with the same quirky charm that had defined much of his career. A staple of television and film, he popped up in everything from Little House on the Prairie to Maverick, always bringing a bit of humor and oddball energy to the screen. But his career never gave him the stability he craved. Behind his ever-present smile was a man who struggled with the fleeting nature of Hollywood, taking whatever work came his way to support his family. His relationships were filled with ups and downs, and though he found love, he often felt like a man on the outside looking in. His final years were spent in relative obscurity, his career having dwindled to sporadic roles. In 2002, he passed away from complications after surgery, his death another quiet goodbye to an actor who had spent his life playing the overlooked and the forgotten. Jock Mahoney, born in 1919, lived a life that seemed lifted from the pages of a pulp novel, stuntman, cowboy, action star. He played Jason T. Willard in BJ and the Bear, a role that came late in his long and physically demanding career. Before that, he had been one of Hollywood's great stunt performers, later stepping into the shoes of Tarzan in Tarzan Goes to India, 1962. But the glamour of adventure came with a heavy price. He pushed his body to the limit, suffering serious injuries and illnesses, including a near-fatal bout of dysentery and pneumonia while filming overseas. The physical toll aged him prematurely, and his career faded before he was ready to let go. His personal life was just as tumultuous, 2 failed marriages, a complicated relationship with his daughter, actress Sally Field, and a stubborn pride that kept him from reconciling with those he hurt. By the time he passed away in 1989 from a stroke, he was a man whose body had endured too much, leaving behind a legacy of grit, resilience, and a career that never gave back as much as he had put in. Jack Kelly, born in 1927, was once the dashing face of Maverick, sharing the screen with James Garner and proving himself as a leading man. As Captain Jim Dreyer in BJ and the Bear, he was in the later years of his career, reduced to supporting roles that barely hinted at the star he once was. His early life had been filled with promise, a matinee idol with charm to spare, but Hollywood is a fickle lover. As the years wore on, the roles became fewer, and his career, once so promising, slowly faded. He turned to politics, serving as a city councilman, but even that couldn't fill the void left by a film career that had slipped through his fingers. His personal life was equally tumultuous, marriages that ended in heartbreak, a struggle to maintain the image of the man he once was. In 1992, a stroke claimed him, a quiet end for a man who had once been one of television's brightest stars. He had spent his life chasing the dream, only to watch it slip away, piece by piece. Slim Pickens, born in 1919, was a cowboy first, an actor second, and a larger-than-life character always. He rode his way into Hollywood with a grin and a twang, making a name for himself in westerns and comedies. In BJ and the Bear, he played Sergeant Beauregard Wiley, a role that let him lean into his folksy charm. But it was Dr. Strangelove, 1964, where he famously rode an atomic bomb like a bucking bronco, that cemented his place in cinematic history. Off-screen, life wasn't all good-natured laughter. Years of stunt work and rough living wore down his body, and his marriage, while lasting, was tested by his absences and a career that demanded more from him than it gave back. In 1983, a brain tumor struck him down, a cruel and undignified end for a man who had always lived large. He spent his last days in quiet pain, a far cry from the wild rides and loud laughter that had defined his life. Concetta Farrell, born in 1943, had a voice that could cut through a room and a presence that refused to be ignored. On BJ and the Bear, she played the Fox, a tough-as-nails character that mirrored her real-life persona. Though she found later fame as the no-nonsense housekeeper Berta in 2.5 Men, her journey was not an easy one. Hollywood rarely made space for women who didn't fit a narrow mold, and Farrell fought for every role she got. She had brushes with success in Mystic Pizza, 1988, and Edward Scissorhands, 1990, but true stardom came late. Her personal life, though mostly private, had its share of heartbreak, love that never quite lasted, friendships that faded under the weight of busy careers. In 2020, complications from a heart attack and subsequent infections took her life, a painful end for a woman whose presence had been a force of nature. She left behind a body of work that outshone the struggles she endured, though the industry never fully gave her the credit she deserved. John Lupton, born in 1928, was the kind of actor who never quite broke through but was always there, a steady presence in film and television. In BJ and the Bear, he played Agent Hull, a minor but memorable character in the show's revolving door of authority figures. Decades earlier, he had shown promise in films like Battle Cry, 1955, and as the lead in the TV western Broken Arrow, 1956 to 1958, but the dream of A-list stardom remained just out of reach. The years passed, and the work became scarcer, leaving him to take whatever roles he could find, no matter how small. His personal life was no less frustrating, his marriage endured, but not without deep fractures, and the industry's slow indifference left him feeling forgotten. In 1993, cancer took him, erasing even the possibility of a late career resurgence. He had spent his life chasing something elusive, and in the end, Hollywood had little to say about him as the curtain fell. Angela Alms, born in 1956, was a woman who seemed to have everything: beauty, charisma, and an infectious charm that lit up the screen. As Honey in BJ and the Bear, she played one of the many attractive women who surrounded the show's lead, a role that capitalized on her bombshell looks but never showcased her real talent. She was trapped in an industry that saw her as eye candy, offering her roles in films like HOTS, 1979, and Scarface, 1983, but never the depth she craved. Off-screen, her life was a constant battle against Hollywood's relentless pressure. Romantic relationships fizzled, either because men failed to see beyond her exterior or because she clung too tightly, afraid of being alone. Then, in 1988, the unthinkable happened. She was found dead at just 32 years old. Officially, it was attributed to a heart condition, but whispers of stress, exhaustion, and the brutal realities of Hollywood's expectations lingered. She was gone too soon, another talent lost to an industry that never truly saw her. Richard Deacon, born in 1921, built a career on playing the kind of men people love to hate, stuffy, condescending authority figures who exuded smug superiority. As Sheriff Masters in BJ and the Bear, he embodied those qualities yet again, much like his iconic role as Mel Cooley on The Dick Van Dyke Show. His talent was undeniable, but his personal life was cloaked in solitude. A deeply private man, he never married, never had children, and carefully guarded his personal affairs. Hollywood whispered about his loneliness, the way he buried himself in work, the friends who came and went but never stayed. As time passed, his health declined, and in 1984, he suffered a heart attack that took him quickly and quietly. There was no dramatic farewell, no adoring family at his side, just the quiet end of a man who had spent his life playing characters larger than himself while keeping his true self hidden from the world. Greg Evigan, born in 1953, became a household name as the charming and free-spirited B.J. McKay in BJ and the Bear. With his signature good looks and easygoing charisma, he embodied the all-American trucker with a pet chimpanzee, cruising the highways and outsmarting corrupt law enforcement. While the role brought him fame, it also typecast him, making it difficult to break into more serious acting. After the show ended, he found moderate success with My Two Dads, 1987 to 1990, and Tech War, 1994 to 1996, but Hollywood's interest in him waned. His personal life, however, remained more stable. Married since 1979, he built a strong family life with his wife and children, including his daughter, actress Brianna Evigan. Though his career has seen ups and downs, with sporadic roles in TV movies and guest appearances, he has avoided the tragic pitfalls of fame. Still, like many former stars of his era, he grapples with the industry's fleeting nature, forever remembered as the man behind the wheel of a red and white rig with a monkey-riding shotgun. Eric Server, born in 1944, played Lieutenant Jim Steiger in BJ and the Bear, a recurring figure of authority whose presence added tension and drama to the show's adventures. A familiar face on television, he had already built a steady career with roles in Battlestar Galactica, 1978, and numerous guest appearances in popular series. But while his professional life offered stability, his personal life was a different story. Marriages came and went, relationships strained under the pressures of Hollywood, and the search for lasting happiness remained elusive. Over the years, as the roles became fewer, he found himself drifting away from the industry, forced to navigate life outside the limelight. Now living in relative obscurity, he occasionally surfaces for conventions and nostalgic interviews, reminiscing about a time when he was a familiar face on television screens. Though never a superstar, he remains a part of television history, his performances still cherished by fans of a bygone era. Linda McCullough, born in 1951, brought warmth and charm to her role as Callie in BJ and the Bear, appearing in the final stretch of the show's run. With her girl-next-door looks and confident presence, she seemed destined for bigger things, but Hollywood can be unforgiving, and sustaining a long-term career proved elusive. She made scattered appearances in television and film, but none brought her the same recognition. Off-screen, relationships were complicated, love seemed to come and go like fleeting auditions, with heartbreak leaving its mark. Though she never became a household name, she found fulfillment outside of acting, focusing on family and personal pursuits. Now largely removed from the industry, she occasionally reflects on her time in the spotlight, grateful for the memories but aware of the fickle nature of fame. Amanda Horan Kennedy, born in 1957, played the glamorous and mysterious Samantha in BJ and the Bear during its final season. A striking beauty with a magnetic screen presence, she had the makings of a star. But behind the scenes, life wasn't as polished. While she landed roles in various television series and films, sustaining momentum proved difficult. The industry, enamored with fresh faces, moved on quickly. Romance, too, was a roller coaster. High-profile relationships that looked perfect from the outside often ended in disappointment. Still, she found new passions beyond acting, transitioning into the world of wellness and beauty entrepreneurship. Though Hollywood didn't grant her lasting fame, she reinvented herself, proving that life after the spotlight can hold its own kind of success. What do you think about the deaths of the actors from BJ and the Bear, and who do you remember the most among them? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to catch the latest videos.